Hi, I'm Gian, but for short and sweet, they call me G. Hence, Keeping It G with G, the podcast. This is a weekly heart-to-heart based off of authentic life experiences and honesty in hopes to inspire others to be more transparent about the ups and downs of everyday life shit. And to give you, the listeners, that extra push you may need to begin your own journey of self-help and healing. And please, keep in mind that I'm not an expert. I'm just speaking from experience. Now let's start the show. Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome to episode 30 of Keeping It G with G, the podcast. Yes, we are on episode 30. We made it. The more I get behind this mic, the more I'm coming to understand that this is truly therapeutic, not only because you guys tell me when an episode hits you in a way, but more so when I go back in and I listen, I can start to take my own advice because I so much love to be there for everyone else and give good advice, but I very rarely take my own damn advice, ironically. So before I get off on a tangent on that, I first and foremost want to always start with expressing my gratitude to you guys for tuning in for yet another episode and being patient with me as it pertains to me on this podcast, especially when I take my monthly hiatus to reset and recharge. I'm super proud of my growth and the fact that people are actually enjoying listening in each and every Monday. Y'all are a part of my motivation to keep this thing going. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, so before we get right into the topic of the week, I want to take the time out because I promised one of my friends that I would answer a question of hers that she randomly DM'd me over the weekend and had asked me a question. And I had asked her if she wanted me to answer her then or if she wanted me to wait until Monday's episode to answer her question. And she was like, yeah, I can just wait. Just answer it on Monday. So I'm taking that opportunity now to answer her question. It's not 3 questions like the Q&A episode. It's just this one. And then we're going to get right into this week's topic. So bear with me. My friend asks, what do you do if that toxic person in your life is your own mom? How do you handle that situation without actually being disrespectful? So when that toxic person in your life is your own mom and you want to refrain from acting out of anger and being disrespectful, I have one word: boundary. Set your boundary respectfully and don't budge. Examples of setting boundaries could mean not answering every single phone call and reserving some time for yourself so you're not always drained, and mastering your own energy so that you can remain conscious of self when a triggering situation comes up with your mom. Also, taking the unsolicited opinions and or advice with a grain of salt, especially if it's negative and not constructive. Most of our parents, I hope, are older, and so they're set in their ways. They are hardly ever going to budge or take heed to the way that you feel, unfortunately. But if you have a healthy relationship with your mom to where you're able to voice the way that you feel about the dynamic of her behavior or how it's taking a toll on you, please, I urge you to do so. A lot of times people don't even recognize that they're toxic or that their behavior has become detrimental to those around them. So she's still your mom, so you have to respect her, but you do not have to put up with toxic behavior, period. So again, set healthy boundaries. Get some distance and try to communicate this in a respectful manner. But just a heads up, people hate boundaries. So you're going to have to really stay strong and firm in your boundary setting. It's going to be imperative in order for you to sustain the preservation of self as it pertains to your peace of mind and sanity. Because if you don't and you fail to communicate these things to your mom, and you fail to heal yourself from this toxic relationship with your mom, it'll spill over into your personal life. And so I hope that you found my answer to be helpful. I hope that this will help you to healthily maneuver through this issue. And I hope that you can really take those steps towards healing, because I don't want this to stifle your growth as a woman, as a future mom to your own kids, or just as it pertains to your life in general. So please, please, please set your boundaries and let me know how it goes for you. I also want to read something that I found as it pertains to the question about toxic people. It says, when you keep trying to awaken a toxic person, you are draining your own energy. A lot of times we feel really bad for our loved ones and we want them to awaken already, but it's not that simple. You can't force awakening on someone. It happens on its own. The best you can do is set an example for them by being your highest self. And if they are ready, they'll come knock on your door. And I'm going to leave you with that. So now that I've answered my friend's question, let's get right into the topic of the week. It's titled, I've Got Work to Do, with a dash of mastering your energy. And when I say I have work to do, this is meaning on self. This is you and I. We both have work to do. All of us. The more I acknowledge my growth and how far I've come, it only takes for an incident to take place for me to put that mirror up to myself and say, okay, G, how or why did that trigger you in that way? Are you really working to be better in that area of your life, or are you just saying that you're working on it to make yourself feel better? So this is an honesty moment, because I know I'm not alone in this, because we're all human and sometimes we slip up and forget about taking the action towards the things that we want to be better at, whether it's forgiveness, healing, being proactive towards fulfilling our goals and dreams, eating better, living a healthier lifestyle, changing behavior and attitudes, whatever it may be. I'm here to say me too. But I'm working on it every single day, and I acknowledge that I have more work to do, even if I have come far, because there's always things we can work on to become the best possible versions of ourselves. So humble yourself, be accountable, and call yourself out on your own shit. You ain't perfect. Do the work. Don't make excuses. Just start taking the steps, man. Just do whatever work you need to do to help you become the best you. Always follow your instincts and your intuition. You know better, so do better actively. Do the work. And if you fail or fall short, don't beat yourself up. Just regain your focus on the bigger picture, dust yourself off, and try again. Let's do the work together. Now on to mastering your energy. This is a topic that I don't think people really take serious as much as they should. This takes a lot of self-control, self-discipline, and self-awareness. It's a whole lot of self-gang shit. But seriously, you have to be mindful of the energy you're giving off and that you're surrounded by, because that will have a lot to do with your energy. So be mindful of who and what you entertain and remain conscious of yourself. Like I said before, so when those triggers do come up, you can take a step back, observe it, kind of like have an outer body experience to try to see if it's worth it or not for you to indulge, especially if you're upset. I find myself doing that a lot. Before I react, I try to thoroughly think it through, like get my words together, get my thoughts together before I just go right in and react. And so a few months ago, I posted something that I had written down in my personal journal. In the past, I have shared some excerpts from my personal journal to encourage you guys to, write and just let out in a journal. So every now and then I share something personal from my journal. And I shared this post on my Instagram page and on the podcast page. And so I'm going to read it as follows. It says, the older I get, the more selective and choosy I am about who I allow into my space and just in my life in general. And I'm not sorry about that, mostly because I know my intentions are pure and I'm always genuine with my shit. And with people these days, you just really never know their motives or who's who. Or who has good intent genuinely. So don't apologize for saying no, removing people out of your space, conserving your energy, or being choosy with who's being allowed in your space. Listen to your intuition and your spirit and go with what feels natural and not forced. You owe it to yourself. And so that, to me, goes hand in hand with energy. And paying attention to vibes and energy that your spirit are rejecting is imperative. Take heed to this. Do not ignore it. This, to me, is how I started to know that I was mastering my energy and becoming more conscious of myself. When my vibration was starting to heighten, because the shit that I used to be able to withstand or entertain, my spirit started to reject it. Not that I was feeling like I was better than the person or the setting, but I simply just couldn't relate or indulge in it. My spirit wouldn't allow me to settle. And so those are some of the signs where you know that you're growing, you're becoming more spiritually aware. So you have to really take heed to when your spirit is rejecting something that you might have used to be able to entertain or withstand. So don't ignore that. Master your energy, your worth, and knowledge of self, and stop indulging in shit that is not serving you purpose any longer. You get exactly back what you give out. So try your best to be mindful of the vibes and energy that you're exuding. And lastly, think thoroughly before you react, like I said before. And before I close out the episode, I found something as it pertains to the episode of mastering your energy and doing the work. And it's a tweet that I found. It says, we all have issues because we all have a story. And no matter how much work you've done on yourself, we all snap back sometimes. So be easy on you. Growth is a dance, not a light switch. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope you guys have a great week. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with your family and friends, repost the episodes, follow the Instagram page for the podcast and the Twitter. And please don't forget to check out that bomb ass playlist I made for the podcast as well. Refer to the show notes for all things Keeping It G with G, the podcast, as well as the September book of the month that has spilled over into October, because sometimes life gets hectic and it takes longer than a month to complete a book. So if you're interested, that information will also be in the show notes. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. Have a great rest of the week. It's Monday, so hang in there. And I will talk to you guys same time, same place next week for the next episode of Keeping It G with G, the podcast.